Well, I see we have a full house, which is very exciting. Except for Joe.
And Mr. Michelli sends his regards. He's
Yes.
down south.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we still, we have a quorum, so we'll get started. So I will call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Rules Committee of the Representative Town Meeting. And the first item on the agenda is to nominate and elect officers. I would suggest we combine the vice chair and the designated acting moderator, since we've always had that person be the same person. Without objection, we'll do it like that, and I'll take a nomination for that position. Yes, Michael.
I was going to say I'd like to nominate Lois, please.
Second.
Lois, second. Are there any other nominees?
Peter, you gotta open that door a little bit for the open meeting.
Just sort of prop it open.
Just prop it open a little bit. Technical? Yeah, it's technical, but it's part of the open meeting requirement.
Are there any other nominees? Rushing in? No, I don't hear or
Much
see
to
any.
Lois's chagrin.
Then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's great. Opposed, I hear none. Abstentions, I see none. Lois, thank you.
Acclamation.
I noticed I didn't ask her if she would accept the nomination, because, no, yes, we're older and smarter. Take a nominee for clerk.
I regretfully put in Mark's name so he doesn't hate me, but I definitely nominate
I
Mark.
will second that.
Second is here. Are there any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. And thank you, Mark. You'll notice I also didn't ask Mark if he'd accept.
I should refer to say that.
That's right, yeah. Next item is approving the minutes for October 2nd. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Patty. A second? Second. Mike, okay. Any corrections, additions? Yes, sir.
If you're not here when that was done, how, can you vote on it? Or?
Yes.
You can still
Yes,
vote.
you can, you're allowed to vote, yeah. You can just say,
You're
hey,
voting on.
seem like they're good to me, you know?
Is you're voting on the veracity that the minutes were properly taken,
Right.
and since Mark did it, they were.
Here.
Okay, so any corrections, additions, deletions, whatever? No? All right, then, all in favor of the minutes? Aye,
Aye.
please.
Aye.
Great, opposed? See none, abstentions? Motion carries, minutes are approved. Next, I'm going to reappoint the Rules Technology Committee, Lois and Mike Wheeler. Notice that I
Well,
didn't
welcome
ask them if they'd like to do that. But, yes, they've served, as you can tell, we're doing okay with the Technology Committee, but they're also involved in evaluating and being part of how some money is spent to improve the technology infrastructure in the town and how that affects the RTM.
Thank you. It's a lot of work, and I think we're getting good news,
Yeah.
right?
It's one committee Mark doesn't serve on anymore.
Well, yes,
Yes,
Mark
July.
finally, after he took on the burden of Great Island, said that's enough, you know. So we're glad that he's here. We'll do a report from the Technology Committee now that I renewed it.
Okay,
Lois?
there are three topics we want to talk about. The first one is the technology for the auditorium. The bids were due in on the 16th. That they're going through a process of evaluation and review and make sure everything's signed. So it's not accepted yet, but the good news is that fingers crossed that this is gonna work out, and we'll have more to report, hopefully at the next meeting. But no red flags, which is really good. So, and it wasn't like last time where we got no bids. So, progress, that's really good. So that's step one. The second one is that I had offered, and I'm re-offering the same issue, about getting questions and concerns about the website. A couple of things that were brought up, I'm working on one that Jack wanted was to get elected officials to also have a link to the RTM, because Republican town, and Chris and I are working on that one, okay? And we'll see where we go. The second one of the things that I brought up was I couldn't see the prior calendar. That when I went to the calendar, I couldn't see what happened last week. Well, it turns out if you don't look at recent meetings, if you look at the calendar as a whole, you can go back. So it's there, one just has to learn how to find it, okay?
Can you explain that again, because I had the same problem?
So I think, well, Susan's bringing it up, which would be cool, so I can read the
I'm gonna
actual.
look over her shoulder if you don't mind.
When it says,
I can bring it up
You're
here?
gonna bring it up on.
I don't want,
No, I don't want
it's not broken, let's not fix it. When you go in, it shows you a calendar, upcoming events.
Yeah.
And what you really want is the calendar, and it's somewhere here.
I'm marking up.
Yeah.
There's a link to calendar, somewhere that says
Would
maybe,
it be here? Town government?
I don't know, I don't remember, departments.
Doing business?
No, how do I?
You gotta scroll down if you're looking for the calendar.
Yeah, but that one's the upcoming, I think it may be at the bottom here. Oh, here, is there a calendar thing there?
Maybe down here?
Well, suffice to say, perhaps should there be a clearer link? I mean, I don't mean that wasn't.
I agree. Yes, okay, so we'll add that to it, but it is. Anyway, it is there, so you can go back. So this is just a matter of linking things appropriately so we can find them. But that's what the problem is here. This is upcoming events. And maybe it's over there in the latest sites. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to take up more of your time, but it is there. I will find it and send it out, and we'll talk about it. See what we can do about it, okay? So that's there. The other thing that's on the table and it's still to be done is getting back the history that was lost.
Yes.
That's very important. And somebody asked me, what do you want? And my basic statement is everything that was there. We'll see how that pans out, but that's what I'm doing. And I actually went on New Canaan's site, and they have back to 2006. So that's sort of my leverage to say, we need it, and we'll see where that goes. But I have my fingers crossed that that's going to work also. And then one more that Mike was dealing with.
The go to meeting licenses.
Wait, before you go there, when you say notify me.
Oh, the
about
notify me. It works sporadically for me, so if any of you have signed up for it, let me know if it's working for you and you're getting notified.
I've signed up for it and I've not received anything.
Okay, then that's
And I get it sporadically.
Okay, so notify me is the ability to say, hey, I want to know when Rules Committee is meeting, and you'll get a link, you get a notification that that's the case. That's how it's supposed to work. It's clearly not working, so that's on the list also.
Just to clarify that, as I understood it, that, well, one, I don't know if it's being consistently used from town hall. And I obviously will be more conscientious of saying yes to send, but it's agendas that are sent. That, as I understood it, was the notification. But maybe I don't.
It's supposed to be the notify, Rules Committee meets tonight. Instead, when I get it the next day, the Rules Committee met and here's the agenda. So I'm getting, the ones I get, I'm getting the day after the meeting.
Ooh, okay, then that's something different, okay.
Anyway, so
That's still gonna,
that sounds like what it's supposed to be. Notify me isn't supposed to say, here's an agenda posted, it's supposed to say, you know, there's a meeting. That you asked me to notify when there's a rules meeting, here's when the rules meeting is.
okay. I thought there was another also ability to send the agenda out, to push it out for those people who are subscribing to that, but I don't wanna
I will find
confuse
it.
the
Yeah.
issue, but that's maybe a second issue.
And I'll get.
Apologize for the simplicity, but would it be easier to have somebody simply roll on Microsoft to do, you know, a calendar announcement of a meeting, you can attach documents to that? And therefore, I mean, that beams it out all to our FOIA compliant accounts, and that pops in our text, I mean, it pops on our
You know
calendars,
what,
it pops in.
let's not let's,
I think it's an
you
easy way of
send me
handling
an
it.
email, and I will forward it,
Okay.
when I put this request together, I'll include that, because I don't know what we're using and what we're not using, and it's way over a lot of
Because
our
also, I think the public, it's for the public as well as elected
absolutely.
people.
Anyone
So
can
the
take
public,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Lois, Krista,
Yeah.
when you're sorting out that problem,
Yeah.
be aware of a special meeting, because that's when a notification will be, something going wrong and you have to have a special meeting. That would be nice to get the notice on that. So I don't know whether that would be
Okay,
in the scoop.
yeah, I'll have to do some more digging on that, but those are the items, and I'm totally open to anyone else before I sit down and try and write this up, yes.
Emails.
Oh, that's a whole nother.
Is that unfair?
That has nothing to do with the revision of the website, was that a good way of
No,
getting around it? But
no,
yes,
I
it's-
was not, I understood that.
Yes, emails are a problem.
The problem is that if folks are using their personal emails, it can be difficult if somebody comes after them with FOIA and subpoenas their, let's say, laptop that they do their business on. So everybody's better off on the same page. Does that come up, or is there, it's just?
Well, it comes up for me a lot. I says, a lot of people know that. I need to put together this is how it works. I have some ideas to cover some of it, because I recently missed an email that it would have been nice, that I got, but just because someone knew that it went to the wrong address. So, there's a way, anyway, there's a bunch of pieces to it. The question is, are we all forced to use DarienCT.gov? And I know a number of people had problems with it. So that doesn't seem like a total solution to me. The other side was, should everything go through to DarienCT.gov and then get forwarded to our personal emails, which is what I was looking for. But that doesn't satisfy your concern of FOIA. But if I'm not concerned about FOIA, it's my problem.
Yeah.
So,
And anybody else?
you all understand what I'm talking about, right? But right now, we've got two sides, and there's a hole in the middle. And there's a lot of people that are using their personal emails anyway. So that is something that I will, once again, try and get some different answers to that I haven't gotten the answers I wanted to hear yet.
Okay.
Lois, can I just
Is
say one
that-
last
yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for pushing to get the minutes on, because I go back and look at minutes from way back when I'm studying something. It's really, really important. I know we talked about that, Krista, so thank you.
I agree.
Well, that's a big deal.
That was a big deal.
I'm hoping that I can make that happen. We'll see. So far, it's a go.
Adele?
I just wanted to pile on and say that the .govs get everything that gets sent.
Mark, are you
The
next?
others,
Did you have your hand up?
What's that?
Do you have your hand up too?
No, I did not,
Oh,
so.
okay.
That was me.
Wait,
Okay.
Adele's
these two
Go.
do, these two do. I'm getting bounce backs for trying to forward files that are more than they will let it, longer, getting bounce backs. Oh, not on .gov. Everything in .gov goes through.
Oh, okay.
People using their personal emails, I'm getting bounce backs.
Interesting.
Do me a
I
favor,
think
Adele.
security has gotten tighter too.
Do me a favor, when that happens, just send me their email so I can figure out whether it's Gmail, AOL, or whatever the thing is. So at least I can figure out what the issue is. Because then we can say, okay, you can do this, but you can't do that, because we can't solve that problem.
But some of it may also be what the memory of the files that she's sending.
No, the size,
Yeah.
I get it, but
Yeah.
I need the pieces to try and figure out a little more when it happens, so. And I'm willing to do that. Now, okay, you're on for the next one.
So the go-to-meeting license.
What? I'm sorry.
Frank, did you have a question too?
No, okay.
May I just add, while you're on emails, this is another topic related. So as I see it, there's two issues, if that's okay. The first is whether or not RTM, as elected officials, have a DarienCT.gov email, and what level of permissioning. As I understand, there are two levels of permissioning within a DarienCT.gov email. So that's something for George to ask.
Okay.
The second question, as the RTM has been reconstituted, I have gotten several questions from various bodies trying to reach RTM members. And whether it's their personal address or their professional address or their volunteer address, the transparency of having those on the website. I don't mean to bring it up now, but I would personally, I would love to see that on the website. An email address. I'm not even gonna say which one, but
So,
an email.
what-
But I don't mean to have this to be a conversation
So
for
Krista,
now.
what I would like to see, and this is personal,
What?
is I would like to see have DarienCT.gov so that if somehow somebody gets it, anything, it's all going through there.
Okay.
But let that forward to our personal emails, and if we want to use that, I've gotten
That
pushed-
works for me
I've
too.
been told that wasn't gonna happen for a policy reason, but I'm not done with that yet. I'm gonna go back and do that.
Then I would love to see this body discuss that topic of emails on the website and how it
Yeah.
gets,
So I need
Best
to write
addressed.
up the issues,
Yeah.
do some stuff, present it, and we can come
Yeah.
with an agreement on what we, what are our questions and recommendations, and then forward that to the powers that be.
And to that point, the only, to me, I personally don't have an issue. I think it's a good way for people to be able to reach us. I'm not sure we need our addresses.
that's another topic. I personally did not have my home address when I was on the Board of Education or the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I did not. I had an email address or a phone number. So again, it's for this body to decide, but
Okay,
I would agree.
we'll do that all as one topic when we
Yeah,
pull the information
okay.
together.
I just want to keep it, because it's important, we gotta figure this out.
Would be nice, right?
Yes, yeah.
Wait,
All right.
Mike has one more piece.
Mike.
Kate is sunsetting the go-to-meeting licenses the middle of December. Apparently, we're getting a number of new Microsoft licenses, so at some point.
Zoom.
A Zoom license, rather. At some point, when you want to set up a virtual meeting, it probably will be in Zoom the next time, unless it's the first 2 weeks in December, and Kate hasn't gotten me the new Zoom credentials yet.
Okay. Okay. Are we set?
Thank you.
All right. I noticed that the first selectman has joined us, and so without objection, I'd like to move the acquisition of the property rights on Great Island up to the next item. I put in here executive session based upon a recommendation. This was back on Monday, or on Friday. We don't need it, according to the first selectman. I talked to him this morning. He said he'll answer any questions that we have. He said there are some he's precluded from answering, whether he's in executive session or not. So he will answer everyone that he can. And so what I would do is ask you to, John, to talk to us about Great Island, a wonderful subject.
Okay, howdy friends, thanks for having me this evening. So the task before you all this evening is to assign committees to consider the property acquisition or purchase that I'm about to describe a little bit. And so what I wanted to use this session for was a little bit of table setting, if you will, and just give you a general timeline and update as to where we are right now and what led to exactly what you're going to be considering in your committees and at the RTM meeting on the 11th. I'm hopeful that my comments will provide some clarity as to where we are at the moment, but I want to emphasize that this is not the end-all be-all. It really is just a very high-level summary to kind of frame things for you. The expectation is that once the committees get started on this, that they're going to do a much deeper dive on this and ask a lot of questions. And so what I'd like to reserve this session for is just getting you guys up to speed on that. I'm happy to answer a few questions, but the reality is that I'd like you to go think about this and get the questions to come out through your committee work, as opposed to them being kind of ad hoc this evening. So the first thing I'd like to do is just a couple of thank yous. I really don't know if you're really aware of how much work has gone into this. The first person to thank is Monica McNally. Monica was running the town, right? And the Great Island acquisition came up. And not only did she shepherd that and have the vision to do that, but she made it happen in the face of a lot of naysayers and folks who were doubtful about all of this. And she stood her ground, not in a stubborn way, but in an explaining way. She brought people together. She articulated her vision. She brought people on board. And she did a phenomenal job. But it did not stop there. And what I'm going to describe here in a minute was sort of round two, if you will, where she had to engage with the sellers of this property that I'm going to go through. And it was a night and day effort. She spent a ton of time on it and still managed to run the town and do everything else. It was a fantastic display of not just competence, focus, resilience, but real public service. And so if you had to think of somebody in the future that comes to mind who really exemplifies public service in an example-setting way, it's Monica McDonald. She deserves our thanks for her efforts, not just then, but her continuing efforts when she takes over chairmanship of the Great Island Committee. So I'm profoundly grateful to her for her service and consider her a good friend, not to just me, but to everyone in this town. I also wanted to thank Jim Palin, who's here tonight. Jim is an extraordinarily busy family man. He's a managing director of a major investment bank, and I can assure you that that is a consuming task. But he managed to carve time out of his schedule to focus on this particular acquisition of this traffic circle with Monica over many months, right? Countless hours back and forth trying to get this sorted out and negotiated. It all came out of his hide. And keep in mind, he's also chairman of the Board of Finance, and I can personally attest to the amount of work that takes. And yet, he was able to get all that pulled together. And like Monica, Jim is a tremendous public servant. He is an extraordinarily talented man, a great personal friend of mine, and someone I respect greatly. And we should also be thankful for his efforts in this, without which it simply could not have come together. The combination of Jim and Monica was phenomenal, and I want to make sure everybody here knows that. We also have here tonight the fine attorneys from Curtis Brinkerhoff. You know Wayne, obviously, but Patty and Bobby are also here. I was telling somebody earlier, if you look in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary for the word unflappable, Wayne Fox is right next to that. Because I don't care what fire that man is under, he is resilient, he's calm, he's thoughtful. I know he's given a lot of advice to this body and to the RTM generally, but he is a greatly valued member of our team and someone who has been and continues to be extraordinarily helpful. He's assisted by Patty and Bobby, who are also here tonight. The amount of work that those people crank out, there's going to be this giant attorney bill that's delivered by train, so there's going to be train. And you know what? It's going to be worth every penny. Those two assisting Wayne as they did were just miracle workers. The amount of work that they put out is just astounding. So lots of others to thank. Kate Bush, who was also extremely helpful throughout all of this, and many, many others who were involved peripherally but played critical roles. This was a team effort, and one that I think is just one for the record, folks. So thank you for indulging me as I thank all these wonderful people, but I wanted to make sure that that got out. So where are we? We purchased Great Island. There was an appropriation by this body for $103 million to do that, which was the headline negotiated price at the time. Thanks to Monica's efforts over a period of time, we were able to get the price of that negotiated down to $85 million. These are all rough numbers, which is what we ended up paying for Great Island when that transaction was consummated last May. Now, that leaves about $17 million or so that are appropriated funds, but those funds have not been spent. Of that $17 million, about $6 million was envisioned at the time for additional work that we would need on the property to facilitate public access, a bit of environmental cleanup that is still in progress at this moment, as well as things like the acquisition of this traffic circle, which I'm going to describe. But that $6 million that's floating out there, that really was envisioned in part for the kind of acquisition that I'm talking about here today. So the reason the traffic circle was important was that it sits right at the entrance of Great Island, without which you can't get into it. And a lot of people have asked, well, we bought Great Island, how come we didn't get the traffic circle at the same time? Well, the simple answer is that the Great Island was owned by the Steinkraus family, and the traffic circle was owned by the Ziegler family. It was too hard to try and get all of those parties together to perform a simultaneous transaction to get that to work. And so it really just effectively meant that the traffic circle was going to be later. Ultimately, we were okay with that because in the end, if we simply couldn't get it through negotiation, we would be able to get it through eminent domain. And that is a power that any government has. And since it's right at the entrance to Great Island, the case would be pretty strong for that. But those are not simple cases. They're subject to a lot of litigation. There's a lot of back and forth on something like that. It can be very expensive to go down that route. And thanks to leadership from Jim and Monica, we embarked on an effort to negotiate with the Ziegler family to try and acquire the property through a purchase and sale agreement as opposed to eminent domain. Thankfully, with regard to their efforts, we've succeeded in doing that. So I signed last week this purchase and sale agreement. Now that agreement does a few things. So the first thing in that agreement is that it states that we're purchasing this traffic circle. It's about 0.3 acres of land that's right at the entrance to Great Island. It also says that we are clearing up some easements in this area. Now, an easement is nothing more than a permission to access something. And so we see easements all over. The town has lots of easements on properties here in the town of Darien that gives the town access to do things. The power company has easements where there are power lines. All of those easements are described with specific language that says what you can and cannot do. So there are easements on roads. They're all near this traffic circle. There's a Great Island Road, there's a road that kind of goes over the causeway, there's another road that comes over to Rings End Bridge. We don't need a map to go through all that, other than to say that the easements that existed prior to our purchase were largely between the Steinkraus and the Ziegler family, so that each family would have access to the other when all this split came about. But importantly, in those the easement language that existed, it says that there's no public right of access on those easements. So the Ziegler family and the Steinkraus family, they could use those easements, but the public could not. And that's okay for them. That doesn't work so well for us. And so what we cleared up in this purchase and sale agreement was not only the purchase of this traffic circle, but we also clarified the language of those easements so that the town would have access to the easements that we need. The buyer of the Ziegler property, which I'll get to in a moment, would have the access that they need, right? And all this gets cleared up. So it's just sort of straightening down the easement language. Now, what does all this cost? So the cost to get the acquisition of the property is $792,010, okay? When we started this process, we got an appraisal of about $560,000 for the traffic circle. And through negotiations with them, including a lot of other soft costs, legal fees, all of that, we ended up at what we thought was a fair price of $792,010. When we were working this with the Ziegler family, their preference was not to receive the $792,000 for the traffic circle, but for tax and other planning reasons. What they wanted to do was to receive from us $10 for the traffic circle. And the $792,000 is actually going to be conveyed to the buyer of the Ziegler property to do some things to get that property ready for that person's ownership. Things like screening, some other modifications, landscaping, trees, all of that they're going to do as part of all this. And all that sort of consideration, if you will, we ultimately were okay with it because in the end, the purchase price is $792,010. However, the Ziegler family wanted that those purchase proceeds distributed. We were okay with that because net to us it didn't make any difference. But that's why there's this slight nuance. So what you'll see in the documents that you read is that the traffic circle sold for $10, which is as a technical matter true, but there was an additional $792,000 that was conveyed as part of that process. This was a very long and protracted negotiation. You think, well, geez, why did it take so long to negotiate the traffic circle? You got to keep in mind that there were sort of three parties to this. There was a town trying to get access to this traffic circle. There's the Ziegler family that owns the property that's up and down Long Neck Point. But then there's a buyer. So the Ziegler family has been negotiating with a buyer to purchase that property. The property is actually currently under contract with that buyer. But to get the traffic circle purchase negotiated, while at the same time trying to negotiate this or navigate the negotiation of the sale of the Ziegler property to this buyer was extraordinarily complicated because all of the uncertainty that was associated with that. As part of all that, one of the things they didn't want was for all the negotiations with the town to sort of get out in public and potentially disturb the negotiations they were undertaking with this buyer. And so they made everyone associated with the negotiation of this PSA or purchase and sale agreement to sign a non-disclosure agreement. That non-disclosure agreement said, fairly simply, you're not supposed to talk about any of the discussions and work back and forth between the parties leading to the agreement around the purchase and sale agreement. One of the things they insisted in the purchase and sale agreement was that NDA persist into the future, right? So they really don't want there to be any discussions about all the negotiations that we undertook in the lead up to the signing of the purchase and sale agreement. For that reason, they like to protect that confidentiality for a variety of legal reasons. We were okay with that. The fact is that the document that really matters is what we ended up signing. It's the purchase and sale agreement. That document, all of you are welcome to review at whatever length you require. And it really does contain everything that we're agreeing to. There's nothing sort of hidden with any of that. And so hopefully everyone is okay with it, but we are bound by that non-disclosure agreement. Part of the reason there's no reason for an executive session tonight is that I'm talking about stuff that I can talk about, and when I finish talking, I won't be able to think of anything else to talk about, so we don't need an executive session. So where we are is, we've got this purchase and sale agreement. It covers the land acquisition, it covers the easements. Importantly, of the $792,000, that money is being conveyed to the buyer of the Ziegler property for his purposes, as I said. None of it is being used or dedicated in exchange for modification of the easement language, right? We looked at that, and it's very important to understand that they're modifying the easement language as a courtesy to making all this work going forward. We didn't actually have to pay for that. Otherwise, that might have required a separate or new appropriation, but they're very clear that, no, that's really all the money that's going to the buyer of the Ziegler property, and none of it was used for the modification of these easements. There's a few additional points to raise. In addition to the non-disclosure agreement that survives the signing of this acquisition, I wanted to be clear about the RTM's role in this point. I stated it before, but I'll say it once more. What we need the RTM to approve through this committee of review and then ultimately the vote on December 11th is specifically the acquisition of this piece of property. Anytime there's an acquisition of real property, that requires RTM approval, and that is what your function will be. Because we're not requiring a new appropriation, there's no financial consideration, none of that really is relevant to specifically what the RTM needs to approve. We're happy to talk about that at length, but there's not a formal role for the RTM to do that. One of the things I promised for a long time and said even during the campaign, that the whole transparency thing is uber important to me. So if you guys have questions or something is not clear, I mean, unless I'm bound under a non-disclosure agreement, I will explain it, and I will spend whatever time is required to do that. So I'm kind of glossing over things right now, but don't worry, we are here and available to answer your questions at any time. The one other point that I want to make that's important to consider is that when the bond resolution was originally passed for the $103 million, normally what happens is that bond counsel will prepare a bond resolution, and Wayne's office will prepare a summary of that for all of the RTM to consider, which is helpful. Okay. In this particular case, the bond resolution, which is the official document, was actually not included right away in the packages that went to the RTM members. Ultimately, I think somewhere north of half of the RTM members got the bond resolution that was voted on, but there was a glitch in the matrix when all that went out, and so it didn't get perfectly distributed. So one of the things, the reason that's important is that in the document that did get approved, it specifically references the acquisition of the Steinkraus property. The traffic circle is not a Steinkraus property, it's a Ziegler property. And so one of the things, again, just because we're technically obsessive around here, we did go back and look at that and ask both Wayne's office and bond counsel to review both the bonding resolution that was passed in addition to the purchase and sale agreement language. All of them believe that, look, this bond resolution was meant to cover the Great Island property writ large, and a mere mention of family members as a potentially constraining feature of that bond resolution does not apply in this case, because the spirit and letter of that resolution pertains to the entire property. At the traffic circle, without that traffic circle, the entire property doesn't work. So bond counsel and Wayne's office feel that the existing bond resolution is fine, and that's part of the reason we're not coming to you for a separate clarifying appropriation. So that's where we are on all of this. One other slight nuance that will not be addressed by the RTM that I'll mention is that when the town acquired the traffic circle, the Ziegler property is actually already subdivided into lots. If they really wanted to sell pieces of that for house development in the future, they could do that. When we bought the traffic circle, there were two sort of extensions of lots that touched that traffic circle. They technically lost access to roads when they did that, even though it's not really a public road, it's a private road with public access. So as another housekeeping matter, Jeremy Ginsburg actually just needs to approve those lot line changes, and that'll all be out that you all can review if you're interested in it. But that just gives you a sense of how many small details needed to be covered as part of this work to get it just right. So tonight, our hope is that you all will go through and assign the consideration of the acquisition of this piece of property to the committees as you see fit. We certainly can make available the purchase and sale agreement for you all to review, and Wayne's office can arrange to distribute that if you would like to read it. But in any case, Monica has committed, she gets back tomorrow night actually, into town. She's committed to spending whatever time is necessary with individuals or the committee, as have I and as has Jim. So we are here to answer your questions at whatever length required. As a calendar matter, so tonight the Board of Selectmen met and we approved a resolution approving the purchase of this land and empowering me to sign whatever documents, including the purchase and sale agreement, to get this done. So that's now been passed by the Board of Selectmen. That resolution is what the RTM will need to vote on in terms of its meeting on the 11th. But between now and then, tonight's rules, tomorrow night, Jim is, the Board of Finance is going to convene. They're going to review all of this. They're not required legally to approve it, but I would like to get the sense of the Board of Finance for this and make sure we've answered any questions they may have, which will feed into all these committees, but I appreciate that board taking a careful look at this. It's important as a town that we get it right. There is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 28th. The purpose of that meeting is what's called a mandatory referral. Now, mandatory referral means that any time the town purchases land, it needs to be referred to the Planning and Zoning to test that acquisition against the plans of the town's plan of conservation and development. That's a document that we prepare and review every 10 years or so. It's state required. The state requires Planning and Zoning to consider land acquisition to make sure it's consistent with that document. We don't get the sense that it isn't, but it's still required, so that's going to be taken care of on the 28th. EPC, Environmental Protection Commission, also needs to meet. They're going to meet on December 6th. The purpose of that meeting is that the easements that I mentioned, one of those easements actually goes over what's called the causeway, which is a short little road that goes from the traffic circle around to the right of Great Island, but it goes over an environmentally protected area. And because there's slight modifications to the easement language, that triggers an EPC review. And Eric Yostin, who chairs that, is aware of this, and they will undertake that on the 6th. And then finally, the RTM will meet in full the night of the State of the Town addresses to hopefully vote on and consider approving the acquisition of this land. So in closing, I did again want to thank everybody involved. One group I did not thank, by the way, was the attorneys that worked very hard for the Ziegler family, as well as the buyer who's undertaking this. They were extraordinarily competent throughout this process, and obviously represented the interests of their clients, but they also did so with great professionalism, and we appreciated all the work that they did as well on this. I know it took a lot out of everybody. I'm happy to take questions. Jim is also happy to take questions, but as I said, my strong recommendation to this group is use this background, which I hope was helpful in making a decision as to which committees need to work on the acquisition of the property. That's going to be the right venue to get into a lot of detailed questions. If there was something quick that I could highlight or Jim could answer tonight, I'm happy to do that. But let's not keep everybody up all night tonight with these questions. Those committees are the right venue for all of that. That's all I have to say. I hope that was helpful, and I appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you, John. I just would offer a point of clarification. There are two things that the Rules Committee does tonight. One is assign committees. The other is to put it on the agenda of the representative town meeting.
Thank you. Yep.
Are there questions? Yes, Bill.
The causeway you just talked about that goes to the right, to Great Island,
Yes, sir.
who owns the land?
So that's owned by the Great Island, what is the committee's?
It's owned by the Great Island
Housing
Property Owners
Property
Association.
owners. So the owners of that association are property owners in the vicinity of that. And
Yes.
what they own is two environmentally protected areas. One where that causeway actually traverses, and that's sort of parcel B right over there. And on the other side of Great Island Road, to sort of the north of that, there's another similar parcel
Yes.
like that. This parcel, I think in total it's about 15 acres. But those are sort of permanently protected lands on which there will be no development. But because the causeway there was there, we had to do this smaller.
So is what you're saying is the town doesn't own it, but it has an easement across it?
Well, the causeway does, so that road that goes there is an existing easement that PSA modifies such that we have unfettered access across that road.
In other words, in perpetuity?
Correct.
Okay.
I did want to acknowledge Amy Zavatakis is here tonight as a guest, because most likely her committee is going to wind up being primary on this. So we thought, you know, she might like to be here if she had any questions to ask as well.
Amy is the master of asking questions, and I'm sure.
Well, I didn't want that to slide by. Right?
I mean that lovingly, but we definitely look forward to her questions as well when you're maybe get something.
Jack, you had a
Okay,
question?
so even though the contract, which I'm assuming isn't a short 3-page contract, it still isn't for wide distribution, correct? So we still have to keep that under some type of control.
Yeah, so the contract, I mean, it's been fully executed. I mean, it doesn't sort of formally get all put in place until, and then the transaction doesn't close, as a matter of fact, until we get through the RTM vote and all of that. As for specifics around kind of keeping that confidential, Wayne, why don't you talk to that?
First, I have to say, if anyone asks me what I want for Christmas, I tell them I want to be as smart as John Zabrowski. I don't think I'm going to get that.
It's a hug in here today.
There are specific directives with respect to how we handle contract. And similar to what you may recall we did with the contract to purchase the property, it was sent out to your members with a clear directive as to what could be done with it. These will be marked confidential. The name of the person who's getting them will be stamped on that. There will also be some directives from us as to the fact that this is confidential. It should not be shared with anyone else.
Right, so it's not that this contract, you know, like if we're doing the lease, everybody gets a copy of the lease. This is not going to be the case, correct?
That would not be our intention, nor was it previously. Well, you did receive a copy per your request.
Right, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure that that's a little bit out in the public. This contract isn't going to 100 people.
Yeah, so just to be, well, just to be clear, members of the RTM can get this contract. They're watermarked so that you can't really send the copy because we're going to know who sent it. That's the purpose of the watermark. But at what point does that confidentiality sort of end, right? Once all of the transaction is consummated.
When we close.
Yeah, so keep in mind that this is a temporary confidentiality, right? We're waiting until the property actually closes and the RTM vote is completed. Then the agreement actually gets entered into the town record and it's publicly available for everyone to review. We're just through this process asking you to kind of keep this to yourselves and not have it under public scrutiny or just widely available until the property transaction actually closes, at which point it will all be public.
The point of clarification, when we negotiated the contract, we specifically requested that we could share it with all the elected officials who needed to take action or vote on it. So you all have access to it, but you're now an extended part of our confidentiality agreement, which is a very closely negotiated document. So you need to keep it confidential until such time, not that you just vote on it on the 11th, but until such time that the property transfer occurs, which would be 5-6 days or maybe 2 hours afterwards.
That's why I was asking, because I knew that it wasn't going to be a quick flip on that. The second thing is, F&B having just done this for a long time, we actually did have the bond council's resolution, because we won't vote on a bond unless we get it from Jen or Jen.
Okay.
So we had it, but if only 50% of the people had it, is there any other thing that we need to do to ensure that the other members who didn't have it as well? I don't know if we're redistributing it or what the case might be.
I think we could do that. I read from Wayne and team as well as Marie, our bond counsel, who read sort of 3 documents, the resolution that everybody got, the full resolution that was partially received, not 100% complete, as well as the purchase and sale agreement language pertaining to this. Right, so they've reread all three of those sections, and the unanimous consensus from all those attorneys is that we do not need another bond resolution.
No, I wasn't asking for it.
Yeah, and what they're gonna do, by the way, which we'll disseminate to this group, is there's a letter being drafted that everybody's gonna sign to that effect, just to kind of give you additional comfort, belts and suspenders, that that's not a problem.
Right, I just didn't know if those who had not had the original one, should there be a redistribution of that original one as part of
Not a
it?
problem.
Yeah, as part, but yeah, that's one thing that I think we always does make sure that we have it in. If we don't, we're not voting, so.
Perhaps we distribute as part of that letter that John just
Yeah,
described. by
I think
reference.
that's a good idea.
And that will come from Wayne's office? Or where is that gonna be disseminated from?
Well, I'm gonna try to minimize the amount of paperwork
I'll
we
get
get sent
you
out,
all.
so there's a single email that's got your
Okay.
PSA, that's got this letter, that's got the full bond resolution. We'll take a little inventory of all this, and when all that's ready, you'll get one email that's got what you need.
Lois?
So I just want to clarify something. I understand that the contract is all coded and stuff like that, but does everyone on the RTM need to see the contract, or only the committees that are really working at it, and then I guess if somebody else has a reason? So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page of who actually is going to get this contract.
We set it up, Lois, so that everyone that has to vote on it has the opportunity to receive it, but by receiving it, you're also taking on a bit of responsibility, you know, in terms of your roles to keep it confidential, because the town signed, you know, as John mentioned, with the parties we negotiated with in good faith. You know,
So we
this-
don't need to blanketly send it out. We need
No,
to
we
make
don't.
sure we know who wants it, and then we
Yeah,
can
I
go
think
forward from there.
My inclination
Well-
would be that committee members, my inclination would be that committee members would definitely want to see that, to make a recommendation to the RTM. If other members of the RTM feel strongly that they really want to review it, and by the way, this is what, 88 pages of documents, maps, exhibits, you may not get invited to parties anymore if you say you're going to. But if you insist, no, seriously, we do want to make it available to someone who has a reasonable basis and some questions that are unanswered. If you have questions about that, I would almost recommend just talking to us. Let us come by and explain it to you, rather than you have to wade through all that. It is daunting, I will tell you
Well, we
that.
can also go when the committees that are assigned to it, and all of us have access to those meetings. So if somebody's really interested in doing
Go and
that,
listen, sure.
you should,
Yeah.
that's a good way to be involved without taxing, taxing board.
Without getting into the technical thing, that's part of what I was saying, because I didn't know it was 88 pages. Kill a tree. This is 88 pages with, let's say, Amy Zavatakis' name on it, Jack Davis's name on it, and it would be 88 pages of the other 98 members with their name on each page, so that should any page be distributed, I'm assuming it's a watermark, it sort of says who distributed or who
Yeah,
had
that's
who
right.
splits.
That's by design, and so one of the things you can also take comfort is that, Jack is going to scrutinize this pretty closely. Amy's in the process of doing that right now. I can assure you that it is, they're taking a careful look at all that, so your colleagues will be very well informed.
So if this was distributed, it's difficult to do it electronically. You've got to do it hard copy, is that?
No, they will actually be emailed, that's the whole point. So
It could
it's
be
in an
emailed?
electronic form.
Okay, well then, I don't see any problem with the RTM getting a copy of it. If they're gonna vote on it, they ought to have it.
Well, what we can do is let people decide. To Lois's point, if there are folks that feel like they don't need to see it,
Yeah.
there's a responsibility attached to that. We
There's
want to
also a responsibility to be informed and do due diligence.
So,
on
Yeah,
votes.
so what we want to do is we want to be 100% transparent. If every last member of the RTM member needs to read every last word, done, right? What we're going to do is we're going to.
We try and figure out a way to figure that out.
Well,
It's done, but what we're going to do is we're going to let you decide what you want. We won't prescribe that.
I have a legal suggestion. For 88 pages, not to give you more work, Wayne, because I have about 2 other things I'm going to speak to you about. It doesn't relate to this. Can we have an extract, of the key points of the contract and distribute that someplace along the line? as instead of 88 pages, it's like, these are the key terms. This is what it is.
Yeah, I
Those be
mean,
in the resolution.
No, I'm not, the resolution is
do
the
that.
resolution.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
pretty simple.
the
I'm just looking
Well,
instead
well,
of distributing
do a
these
synopsis.
copies to the letter.
No.
Okay.
I,
Those who want it-
we'll figure this out. We'll get a sense of the, we'll try and get a sense of if everybody wants to see it, or there are just some that they, try and figure out a way to do that. I do have a resolution that I.
I just
What?
wondered, does this, doing this, purchase, does this take care of all access issues that we have with the property?
excellent question. It 100% takes care of all access issues. This is one and done. We will not be having an access problem again that we have to address. Great question.
So the owner of the of the land under the easement, they'll still have ownership of it, and they
Well,
won't be able to.
that association owns essentially undevelopable property, and we have a permanent easement across the causeway that sits on that one tract of undevelopable property. And so that is, you know, well, there's no termination built into that easement right, so we have permanent access to that
Do
causeway.
they own the marshlands, as you mentioned, on each side, or they're the same
Correct, there's
entity?
about 15 acres of wetlands, marshlands, I'm not sure how they are technically referred to, but that is ring fenced and reserved from any development.
And does the town have any easement over that part of the?
Well, we have an easement over the causeway, I don't think we have any easements over the.
We have an easement over the asphalt path,
Right.
driveway, over top of the conservation easement.
Can we enlarge it at all?
The conservation easement says it only allows that path, that driveway to be on it. So the short answer is no.
No, so-
When something's a conservation easement, you can't change it. If the question is, why didn't we buy it? Well, because from my vantage point, they continue to pay taxes on it.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
So we have,
And what's the purpose of it for them?
Open space.
Open space, there's a lot of people that like that, and that's okay.
Oh, as far as the marshlands on each side of it,
Yeah.
what you're talking
Well,
about?
the other problem is that somebody has to own it. And
Yes,
we
I
might as well
agree.
have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
Because if they sell it, then they can sell it to somebody else, and it's not gonna change, because it's a conservation easement.
Okay.
So we're in a good spot with all that.
Okay. I'm not even sure if the town owns it, whether or not we could do anything with it either because of the conservation easement.
That's
No,
possibly
Right, right, so why not have somebody pay us for it?
So the 22 foot roadway and the 5-foot sidewalk, that's gonna fit on,
No.
yes.
yes? I assume that's where the,
The parcel which is referred to as 23A when you drive through over the bridge and through the beautiful gates, right now, there's a path, there's a access drive that's about 18, 19 feet wide, that'll be expanded to kind of 22, 23 feet. We own that, and we will continue to own it, and the road's just gonna be kind of moved and widened a little bit and improved on that to create two-way traffic. And that road, which now has two-way traffic, will now lead into the traffic circle that John explained we're buying. And so the road that we own will lead into a traffic circle that we own, which will lead into an island that we own. So as you think about 100 or 1,000 years from now, everything that we do, everything that we drive over and so forth, is owned by the town, except for the one space over an easement, which is a conservation easement in perpetuity, except for it's allowed the 116, 17-foot paved road over top of it, but it's a conservation easement in perpetuity, of which our EPC is effectively the trustee for.
so the road will narrow there.
Well, it'll remain exactly as it is, 'cause that's sufficient.
I got that part,
Yeah.
but the fact that we're widening it at the other part, it will then narrow, correct.
So,
Okay.
yes.
Well, it's widened all the way up to the traffic circle, right? And then once you get to the traffic circle, you bear to the left and go around, and it's gonna be a one-way loop, and then you'll come out across the causeway
Yeah,
that way, so I
yeah.
suppose. And in 100 years, you'll actually be able to ask Jim, because he's agreed to be chairman of the board. For the next 100 years. So thank you, Jim. Appreciate your service.
So we're not getting our ferry service?
Now, don't ferry service proposals have to originate in the RTM? Is there some concept?
Let me know, I can send one to you.
I bet. The number you dialed has been disconnected.
Are there any more questions? I
Thank you,
have
friends.
just
Appreciate it.
one.
Oh, go.
I have a resolution, an RTM resolution, to be moved at the RTM meeting, but it may be old.
We'll make
And
sure-
that, we're talking days.
We're
So
gonna-
I'm asking, I guess, town council, does this have to be updated now?
I believe the one that you have is the final one.
Okay, so the one we sent out is good. All right, good.
Do we want to assign committees now, so
Yes.
while they're all here?
That's where I was headed. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr.
Well, thank you,
Mr.
friends. I
Dale.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, John. Nice job. I will entertain a motion to assign committees. I'm suggesting PCNH is primary and F&B secondary, but
Yeah, because we're not doing additional funding or bonding, in this particular case, and because we're also dealing with the land acquisition and some easements, and I guarantee if the contract is 80-something pages, there's going to need to be some explanation, and I will defer without question to Amy to lead this, and we'll just explain how the monies are being allocated out of existing funds.
is Amy here? I haven't heard a word.
She's hiding
I
back
can
there.
hear a pin drop on
She's
that.
turned around, somebody's painting a target on her back.
Did you notice that real quick pass off? But yes, I second that. I make that motion to have,
A motion, good.
Yeah.
PCNH primary,
primary, and
F&B
F&B
secondary. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Yes, Patty. Further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Opposed? I don't see any. Abstentions? I don't see any. Passes unanimously. I would next ask permission to get a little bit out of order to add this item to the RTM agenda. Are you ready to do that?
So moved.
All right, Michael, you ready? Can I have a second, please? Susan. Now, let's get her right in. Okay, debate, questions?
I have only one question.
Yes, sir.
Since we're going to listen to the State of the Union later, do we want to do this before the State of the Union or after? State of
Well,
the
we
Union?
didn't put order, I was just putting it on.
No,
Notice I
I'm
didn't
just
talk
asking for us
what
to
order it
consider
might.
that. Yeah, no, I'm asking to consider because
Yep,
they're gonna hang around to see what we do anyway, so maybe we can get it off the plate real quick.
yeah, so we will, we'll take up the order, it comes,
Since we
it's
have
the
no
only
other
item of business, so,
Right.
and it comes before vote even on the final vote on the Board of Ethics, so we're way up front. We
Okay,
just do
good.
approval of the minutes. I threw updated Great Island on it, but you may not bother, given the fact that we'll have this vote, so we may take that off. So yeah, it's pretty early in the process,
Okay, good.
yeah. Okay,
Excuse me,
so,
Seth. That
yeah.
motion we just approved what was it specifically for? I mean, I know what was it to approve?
Just to put it on the.
Just put it on the
Just
agenda.
putting Great Island on the agenda, I didn't
That's
put
okay, we
the
haven't gotten
order,
to step
because we
two.
can
I'm
vote
gonna
the
look
order
at it.
later.
I'm
Okay.
just feeding people's minds.
Yeah, okay.
Ready to vote? All in favor? Okay, opposed? I see none, abstentions, I see none, it's on the agenda, the RTM. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you all
much.
for coming tonight. Okay, assigning RTM members to committees.
Mr. Wheeler.
Mr. Wheeler,
Let me go and I'll let each district talk about any changes that they have as you look at any new member is in bold, any existing member that changed committees are in bold. So I guess District 1, if you want to go over
I'll
your.
start. Okay, for District 1, we have 2 new members, Bill Clarkson and Jessica Cahill. We've assigned Bill Clarkson to Public Health and Safety. Well, let me step back, that most of the people stayed on the committees that they were on previously. And everyone got their first choice except for McGovern, who, that's PZNH is her second choice, and Clarkson, who had other choices, but he's new, so he had a choice between Public Health and Safety and TGS&A, because we like to balance across all the different committees and feel that it's important to have at least 2 people on each committee, so that is how ours played out. Jessica Cahill, first choice was TGS&A, so really there's only 2, one person had a second choice and one person just had to go with what, as being the newest member, and we needed to fill in our slate, so that's how, but most of the people are on and got their first choice.
And we have one seat we're gonna be filling, and we're gonna probably be caucusing in December. So all things being equal, we'll fill up that slot with,
TGS&A.
yes, TGS&A to fully balance it out. It was an easy one this year.
Okay, questions? Thoughts? All right, District 2.
Everybody wanted to stay where they were, except Penny Wilson moved from Public Health and Safety to Parks and Recreation.
That's it.
My second question on the spreadsheet was, Jackie Miller, why is she italic? Does italics mean anything in particular?
Carelessness on my part.
Oh, okay.
You're not careless. You're not careless.
I am supposed to
It's
say
carelessness on my part.
Okay. So that's it?
Lovely.
Okay, District 3 stayed pretty much the same. The only change was that Cardone moved from Public Works to Park and Rec, which was moving from a committee that had 3 people on it to a committee that had 2, so now has 3.
Park and Rec's getting popular.
We're busy.
I think
So
we're
Dale,
full.
is the intent to put the 2 open people when they're selected on Public Health and Safety and TGS&A?
We haven't discussed it, but I would guess yes.
Have a seat, Amy.
I can't really see it.
Come, move up where you can see. Okay, questions, problems, thoughts? All right,
Look at this.
District 4.
It's like Vanna White.
I'll take 10% of what she makes.
Well, first of all, Joe Michelli sends his regards. He's out of town, unfortunately in warmer weather. When you look at District 4's report, you see one bold-faced name is Werner DeMittner, requested to serve on Public Works. That brings to the fore the gap on F&B. The 6 other committees are well-staffed by experienced and expertise. I recognize that Appendix B states that each district should appoint a member to each committee. It's a problem. It does not address the consequences of not doing it. I just checked with town council in the hallway to see what the consequences are, and so he says that it's flogging.
Public
So
square.
I suggest that Joe be flogged. In earnest, we have checked with the members of the district to see if someone would volunteer to go into F&B and do diligent work over the weekend. We're unable to find a volunteer. So there we are. In the past, members of the Rules Committee have been very effective in moving people around to fill the gaps, to make sure that there's a person on each committee. And in this case, and in checking with several of you, there seems to be an opportunity to fill in, and I see a bold print name there in District 6, a person who had been unassigned and is now assigned to be an F&B. I wish Jack were in the room at the moment, because he has indicated to me that he really doesn't want conscripts for people serving on the committee who don't want to serve. And so that's the problem, and presents it to ourselves, and I submit that Joe and I and Brian Rahal, chairman of the district, can be flogged. But I submit my report to you as it stands on the screen right now.
And who was on before him?
But Wayne, Werner DeMittler was on F&B, and when he requested to be removed from F&B after good and faithful service for a year,
1
we
year?
honored that request.
He was on 1 year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems reasonable.
And he was, we requested that he serve on F&B last year. He graciously did it, but then withdrew.
He was on PZ&H first year.
So maybe as we, the rest of us are looking at our, filling our open seats, we will keep in mind
F&B.
F&B.
for F&B,
Again,
even though it might not make everything even, if we find the right person. Yes.
Indeed, yes. I wish Jack were here at the moment. He didn't want, as a matter of fact, there's no rule against having persons serve on two committees. It was a rule, but in the pending Appendix B adjustments, we removed that, removed that phrase.
There's no restriction.
There was.
It does state in appendix B.
More than
No,
two.
you had to have two people, you could be on two people, okay.
Could be, yes.
Okay.
And with that, in the new version, it's not it's not prohibited, it's not, anything that's not prohibited is allowed. So, I volunteered, in pro forma, since you can serve on two committees, to go and serve on F&B, and check.
Said no.
Resoundingly said he didn't want me. I think that's what he said. But, again, it falls under the things that he knows, that he's conscious about the quorum level, and he's happy with the level that we have right now, that he has right now, which I think is 11, or is it 12? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's 11.
There's more, that's what somebody mentioned.
Yeah,
So
you
he's-
mentioned 12 earlier, is there someone else there?
Well, there's somebody else.
I'm hiding Lois's math work, because she put in all the formulas, so I wasn't
Oh,
pride
wow,
in saying
Lois,
her
at the
math.
end of
Do I discount?
Oh, there we go.
Those are all Lois's formulas.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There's 12.
It's 12.
The numbers at the top.
12.
Numbers are at the top.
I can tell you, Nick Bronca's third choice was F&B.
Who?
Nick Bronca.
I can't see from here.
He's on PZ&H in District 4. He's the
Just
last
for
one.
what it's worth.
Bronca. Right there.
But geez,
Jack, I spoke for you, which was
Oh,
always
shit.
a bold move.
This is
But,
recorded. I apologize.
Easy on the language, guys.
Indicating
Yes, I just
that-
realized.
Table TV, it's all right.
indicating that you didn't want unwilling conscripts assigned.
Or
to
Frank.
them. Or Frank.
I don't want to
Yeah,
jump ahead,
my-
but District 6 found a ready, willing, and able person to fill in.
You're helping.
Look,
No, we know that. We told them.
F&B does a lot of work, and I'd rather that people who are on there want to be on there, at least in one of their selections. Otherwise, you don't show up, and, it's not that we've done some modifications on how we do things, but most of our budget work now is done up front, so we're working with the various boards up front. Some people who have been in the other committees, we're working with them, with the Board of Finance up front. So the goal of F&B is essentially 10 minutes after the Board of Finance votes, F&B can vote on the contract. When I first joined, we waited till the Board of Finance voted on it, but in my opinion, the horse was already out of the barn and out of the gate. So you have a lot more to say with the upfront thing, but then we're virtually we have one meeting to just deal with the budget. So if somebody doesn't want to be on it, I just assume if they can leave it blank, that we have enough people to do the work. And the team is really good team of people that are already there.
I would say we try and help our associates with people with the open seats to try and find someone that could add value to your committee as well. So that's.
Yeah, I have no problem, but, you know, we operated with 13, which is, 12, 13 is a good number. That allows us to do complete coverage. And one year we had 17, and that was, and people were good, obviously because they went to the Board of Finance, they went to the Board of Selectmen, they went to the dark side, but that we haven't forgiven them totally.
The only benefit, though, I would say really is that, we report back within our district
That's what I was
how
gonna
we're
say.
doing.
Yeah, that's
You
my
know,
issue.
and so I don't want District 4 to feel like they don't have somebody reporting back to them.
I agree.
So
but I
that's
don't
why
wanna
I'd
force
asked
somebody.
Frank, do you have any open seats? And unfortunately, he didn't. So
But if he has somebody who picked it third, which you said he did,
I can only confirm that's one person whom I had believed someone had financial background, and I confirmed
Yeah,
it,
he's
because I
got
have all the
Nick Branca
responses.
has a
It was his
financial
third.
background.
I don't know, I can quickly look for the other members where it fell, but I can confirm Bronco was third.
Well, especially because he's on a committee with 3 people.
Right.
He's not
Yeah.
only 1 or 2, so.
And
I can
we've
double check
just
the other
gotten
people,
really
too.
heavy on Parks and Rec
Yeah.
as a result
That's
of
a lot of
that.
people.
yeah.
A lot, Madam Chair.
I agree with Patty. My concern is not about does Jack have enough people to do the work. My concern is that there's no one representing the
I
district.
agree, but I'm
Right.
not gonna force somebody because they won't show up anyhow to report back.
Well, and you have 2 open seats, but if those 2 people have financial backgrounds, District 3 has 2 open seats.
Right,
But
but
they
we have
can't,
three.
you
Still
can't,
not District
you
We have
can't
three
add more
already-
than
we
3
already
people.
have three.
Right, but if Branca is in District 4, he has financial background, and he actually listed it on his thing.
But I assume
He's
Frank-
one example.
Assume
I
Frank's
don't
No,
want-
I'm saying, but that's one example. I'm back to when my first year, I listed 5 things, I got none of them. I was on TGS&A, I learned a ton for 2 years, and then I moved on to Public Works and other places, so.
I
Yeah.
will say also as a new person, you look and see, and people do get comfortable and they do really like the committees that they're on, but there is something to be said to learn a little bit more about a different committee,
Yeah.
and also to have some new blood into the conversation. I'm not saying force anybody into a committee, but I think it's very beneficial to have some new people, if you can. I mean,
Well, I'm sorry, because I was outside trying to do some business that I have to do later on that we've been assigned. Who's the individual that we were talking about that has financial?
Bronca?
Branca, Nick Branca, he is in
He's on-
District 4.
Okay, all right.
You spoke to
And
him,
he's-
Frank, and he
he
was not
listed as
interested, or
A
what was?
third choice.
No.
No, if they're not interested, again, you know.
No, but he
I-
listed it as a third choice. We put people on things over
No,
the
no,
years
if
that
they listed
weren't
it as
interested
a
in.
third choice,
They didn't want it.
then, if they listed it as a third choice, then that's fine.
That's a
Right,
fair
that's
game.
what- That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
If
that's fair
they
game.
hadn't listed it,
We aren't talking
No,
about
they,
that.
he,
That's not relevant,
It was
that's not the
listed-
point. The
right.
point is, there's someone who put his choice down as third.
then move them over.
And I
But-
with Patty's
but
point,
Frank, Frank,
Yeah.
I assumed you spoke to this person, right? And said he didn't want it.
True disclosure email, I sent a
Well,
very
that's
frank, I know, I sent a very frank email to the whole thing, and I talked to several. I did not happen to talk to Nick.
might be worth a talk.
I would assume that if he was interested, he would have responded.
So you emailed him.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
if you don't respond, you're doing your clerk then,
So
right?
I have only one,
Easy.
wait, I have one
Yeah.
question. You have all the responses on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I have my email, so I have,
too.
I, as Frank and
Yeah.
Joe, received all the responses, as did Seth.
okay. Did that individual list F and B as one of their 3 choices?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but full disclosure, not everyone gave 3 choices. Some people gave the same committee 3 times.
We know that.
So I
She's
don't-
looking at me, I did that.
And other people gave 2 answers, so on the flip side, are you gonna penalize Mr. Bronco for following directions and giving 3 different
No,
choices?
That's
So I'm
not
just
penalizing, all the rest of
Okay,
us
fair enough.
did
Just
it.
giving
Those are rare people who didn't do
I'm
it correctly,
giving the
the rest of us
full
all did.
picture.
That's right.
Yes,
Full
so,
But
I think this is an easy decision.
So,
Okay.
folks, we wanna move Bronca,
Yeah,
correct?
yes, move
Correct.
them over,
Okay.
they'll serve their term and see if they
What
like
about
it.
Wait,
the
I
rules-
think you should get
What do you think, Frank?
consent.
Well, he can always, if you
I
can always.
disagree
come
with
back
the move,
if you-
but if it's the will of the body, I have to
Let
comply.
Cheryl Russell do that.
But I don't think it's a wise move. I
Right.
think that we are
Yeah. No,
observing
she likes what she does.
Right,
a formality. But as far as the concern that a district does not have a voice in finance, I would waive that because we've had, the districts are not different from each other in that if we're in the state of Oregon where you have mountainous and seafood and seafaring, it's all in a small town. And to say that a particular district is not represented on a committee is a technicality.
I just
It's
beg to
okay,
differ.
it's one, I mean, I'm just gonna have the debate, Frank,
Thank
but
you.
my point is, we just decided that that was important enough to put in the rules that we just wrote 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
It's not like they were from 20
And
years
you
ago.
can't imagine how embarrassed I am. That starts out with this committee. So I checked with Lee to see if I've committed some sort of civil tort or something like that. And he looked at it and he said the penalty is
Yes.
flogging. So you're getting volunteered Joe to be flogged. I can't, I'm
All
not.
right.
I guess, I
Well,
don't
can
know,
I ask you a question, Frank? Is there anyone else in the district that put F and B as number 2 or 3?
No, I'll go with Krista, if you've got the information.
No, I only looked up 1 person. I can sit here and look up all the others unless you know offhand.
There was no one in District 2 that had F&B in their first choice.
No, but
No, in
we're
District
talking about
4.
District 4.
She's asking about District 4.
No, she was asking for.
Right, no, District 4.
Well,
Can we go on?
I know that Krista.
All right, wait,
Can we- can we-
It's a very thin, thickly.
if, Frank, since we will be assigning, we had the buddy system, and then we actually read that the buddy system was supposed to exist anyway. We can, if we take them on, we will assign them to be the F&B liaison back to PZ&H, so that they still have their touch in there but on financial matters. The liaison is only there for financial matters and budgets, so,
Well, also to make it fair to Nick, can we just move on and have Crystal look up?
Yeah, can we just
If there was
call him?
anyone else, well, no, if there was anyone else in District 4, so we're not picking on one person.
Right.
Yeah.
If anyone else had number 2 or 3 as F and B,
Yeah.
then we can discuss that before we pick this one person.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
And so why she looks that up, that's a total
Right,
fair
let's
point,
move
I
on.
agree.
We don't-
And if there is no one else, again, he could have not put F and B, he could have put TGS&A, public health and safety, something else. So the fact that we think about which ones we're putting and what we're not putting. So there's some intent there for him to have even written it out.
And Krista, there might have been someone, like in our district, not everybody responded. So we did call them, but,
Right.
so I don't know if everyone in District 4 responded. If someone didn't, and they have financial background, that's another option.
I'm deferring to.
Frank did all your.
Sure, look, it's just-
All right, why don't we go on to District 5? We'll put 4 in abeyance for a moment. Let's do 5.
Okay, Mark, okay. We actually had a situation where we only have one person on education. We had a few that didn't respond, but we talked to them, and we felt with 2 open seats, it was going to be a little risky to put open seats in both education and F&B. So for Holly, it was her second choice for F&B, so that's why we put her there. We moved her from her first choice to make it fair, because it is tough for someone that has 0 response, zero experience on the RTM to go into those if they don't want to.
And
So-
did you check in with her on that?
That's her second choice.
Yeah, it's her second choice. We actually had, so Beth Pope, her first choice was TGSNA, but we had 3 people there that all wanted it and had been there longer, so she got her second, she was on public safety, so, and that was her second choice, so we kept her there.
On Holly, what's the last name?
Wong.
Wong.
HOA.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
she's brand new. I was gonna
No,
say, you're not
her
moving.
second year.
She caucused on.
Oh, she
So
caucused
yeah.
on.
And when she caucused, her first choice was F&B.
Okay,
But Mark and Ann didn't want to, didn't think it was
Got
right
it.
to give her F&B for her first choice.
got it, that makes
Based
sense.
based upon the timing
Yeah.
of when you came in.
Got it.
Told me.
All right.
Sorry, Amy, what did you say?
She told me she loved what I was doing with PCH.
Oh. Well,
I can have her be your second liaison.
That's fine.
Well, liaison.
but
All right, folks, questions on 5 issues?
No.
We're good?
Thank you, Susan.
6, please.
As noted earlier, we found someone who, one of our new members, Peter Mahopoulos, comes from a banking background and wanted F&B number 1, so that was fairly easy. We had a couple of other, actually 5 people that wanted to be moved. And so we accommodated everybody's first choice except for 1. We had Mary Nevin Gautier went from planning and zoning to parks. Lisa Johnson went from parks to education. Teresa Vogt went education to TGSNA. John Vesey's going from TGSNA to planning and zoning. And David York's going from TGSNA to Parks and Rec. So it leaves us 1 thin on TGSNA, but we've got 2, if not more, other places.
boy, Parks and Rec is really heavy. Can you go to the
Yeah.
top, sorry, because there were 17.
Yeah.
Park and Rec is loaded.
Yeah.
But there's no more than 3, so at least we're not at the era where we have, sometimes we
Yeah.
have 4 from one district, so.
Yeah, but when we did that, we did a switch, so between
Right,
3 and 2, I
Yeah.
believe it was.
Yeah, we were covering each
that
other.
was a whole
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, I wasn't
Horse
part of that.
trading,
It was just,
yeah.
yeah. I wasn't part of it.
education, FMB thing.
We've got
Do
6
you
open
have
seats,
to have, I mean, whatever, but do you have to give both
But 6 doesn't.
of the bold people Parks and Rec?
That was their
Like
first
what else,
choice.
what else is lighter?
Nobody else on TGSNA, neither one of those people wanted to go to TGSNA, since there's only 1 person.
Are either one of them new?
No. I don't think so. York and,
Do-
the 2
So they're
people.
not new,
They're not new.
not correct. The new people went to, again, of Bernie Young, went to,
Not-
Peter,
not
these
this.
2 that you're
and
moving,
Mahopoulos went to financial budget. Those are the 2.
the 2 that you moved to PZNH, to Park and Rec, where were they last year?
One was at TGSNA and the other was at planning and zoning.
What, I'm sorry?
Planning and zoning.
Which one?
Mary Nevin Gauthier was a
Mary
PCH.
Nevin Gautier was at planning and zoning.
Does it make sense to keep the one on TGSNA?
Yeah.
You didn't want to be on it.
I mean, TGSNA is very light, and obviously new
Mm.
people are gonna go on there, but,
That's a great place for new people, that's where I started.
But it's not, it's someone who was on it last year.
Yeah, he was on it 1 year.
John wanted off.
Yeah.
John wanted it. Joe wanted it.
What,
Yeah,
one
me
year?
Joe
Done
Warren.
again,
Maybe.
I was clerk.
Not gonna lie, it's a lot on,
it's a lot for.
It's a lot, it's hard with quorums, right?
17's just, is a lot of people.
That's crazy.
I guess I would propose if the person was on TGSNA last year, to keep them there.
Yeah, York.
I would
He
agree.
didn't, he made 3 choices and it wasn't that one.
Did
I
any,
mean,
so did anyone else have TGSNA as their second or third choice?
Not
Do the
that I
same thing?
Not that I remember.
I don't think anybody had.
We have one that wanted it.
Well, we definitely had somebody else who wanted Parks and Rec, and we said no, because it's getting too filled.
All right.
Chris is
Can
still.
you live with 6 or?
Yeah, it's,
We'll come back.
We're at 6.
I'm not gonna be able to.
We live with 6?
Well,
Yeah,
I guess the question is, if those two people that are being moved to Park and Rec, if neither wanted TGSNA, what were their second choices?
Yeah.
No, excuse me.
I'm sorry?
The one person.
One person
was
is their
on
second choice.
TJ.
Correct, but he did not put it as a choice this time.
No.
Right, so my
And-
question is, what
What was
were
York's
their
first and
choices?
second choice?
Okay. Mr. York wanted Park and Rec, Education, or PZ&H.
Okay, and how?
all ones that are
And,
full, okay?
Gunther wanted Education, Park and Rec, or PZ&H.
You know, these things do, from the years that I've been here, these things have fluctuated. At one time, there was a complaint that you couldn't get on F&B, and you couldn't get on education. And
When
now.
I first came on the RTM, that was the case. You could not get on F&B if you wanted to. Took
Right.
years.
Yeah, yeah. And then we've just had significant turnover, mostly because people have, well, some people have moved out of town. I mean, we lost Martha Banks, we just lost Barry, who was good, and Iris Mix from District 2 was really good, but she's taking some time off. So, and then we had people, you know, counting Jim, because I was vice chair when he was chair, out of the members, the 7 members that are on the Board of Finance, 4 of them are former F&B people. 2 of them were vice chair during the time that I've been chair, with Taylor and with Rob. And then Dave Martin was also on there. So, you know, the people move out and
Of course.
to other things.
Okay,
So
so I
what do you
have
wanna
a
do?
question. Can I ask,
Yeah,
just to
go.
throw this out there, as I'm looking at the board, the Jeopardy board, and as people have moved around, I guess my one concern is that, you know, we already see, again, you know, but we see that Parks and Rec is heavy, and I'd be saying the same thing if it was the year that it was public health and safety and it was 17.
Safety had 17
right,
one year, now
right.
it's down to.
And so, and then it flips around, but I guess I question putting 2 new people from one district onto Parks and Rec when it's so heavy.
Wait,
Because we made the choice not to put an additional person, you just said you made the choice, I think, did you say that from District 5?
They
Or was
couldn't
that
go
some-
on TGSNA because there were already 3 people.
Okay. Thanks for filling TGSNA. Yeah,
I'm making one text, please.
so, are you texting the person?
Now I'm texting somebody else who
Okay,
might be interested.
interested in that?
Maybe.
Okay. Is there other business we can talk about for a few minutes
Yeah,
while
we
he
got more,
waits
don't
for
we?
an answer?
Yeah, we've got 4 as well. What do you want to, I mean, Jack, how does, I mean, you're happy with the level that you have at F&B now?
Yeah, I'm happy not only with the level, you gotta remember that's a very strong team of people there. We have bond people there, we
Okay,
have financial people.
so there's no push to move Bronca.
Oh, no, I thought there was a
It says
done.
you're missing the point.
No,
The point
that's-
isn't about whether Jack
right.
has enough people.
It's a
Yeah.
whole
Well-
open thing. It's a
The
whole open
question
district,
is,
you put it
yeah.
into Appendix B that's gonna be launching in 2 weeks, and
You're right.
it's not a good look, right?
Yeah.
Then,
If we didn't mean it, we shouldn't have put it
It's gonna take
in.
more than 2 weeks.
right.
If we didn't mean it, we shouldn't have put it in.
Yeah. No, I understand your concern, I just didn't want to force somebody in there.
I heard.
That's
But-
the only thing. But if somebody had listed it as 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, then, you know, move them in
Yeah.
and we'll make them happy.
I think in the case, that would, if, with that theory, Jack, that would work for the situation in District 4, but it
Right.
doesn't seem as though there's a situation for District 6, but that's not the same situation. It's not an F&B situation. It's overloading another committee, so it's a bit different.
No, I agree, I agree.
Underloading and overloading.
Yeah.
And my only real objection is the District 4 one.
Mine too.
District 6 is not, it's not about District 6. It's then about, is Park and Rec too big? That's a separate
It's
issue.
two separate things, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you want to do on 4?
Well, I'd like to wait, why don't we talk about Park and Rec first, because Krista's still looking through everyone.
So here's a crazy question. Cardone in 3, what was her first and second and third choice?
That was her first choice.
Okay, what was her second and third?
I don't recall, but the fact of the matter is, she's been around.
Unless you have their
for a while.
responses.
And she's been trying to
Do you
get
have
on
their
Parks and Rec,
responses?
like for
No,
No, I'm
several
just,
years.
I'm just looking at new people.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm not
a big
picking
fair.
on anyone.
She's not new.
Sorry.
Yeah,
She's
far
only
from
bold
that.
because she got
Right.
moved over.
Yes, I know, I understand that.
And
Okay.
we have 2 other people that are coming on,
But thank you.
so that we should be,
Put them on.
we will actually be fairly well
You'll do-
done by 2, 3,
Right.
3.
No, I was just looking at
2,
Parks
2.
and Rec. Who's
Yeah,
who's
no.
going to be new to Parks and Rec
And
this year?
she'll be a good addition.
Yeah,
She's good.
it's not about the
well,
person.
It's funny, because you actually, I'm sure, know her,
Right.
so.
It's
yeah,
not the
she'll be
person,
good.
it's, I'm just looking at who's new to the
Exactly.
committee.
Yeah.
It's not the person.
Oh, we got a solution.
Okay.
Thank you for
I
texting.
we never got that.
Well, at least for TG, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
All right, Verna Young listed, she's brand new, she listed, I didn't realize she listed TGSA.
Wait. You talking about Werner or Taylor?
Verna,
No,
Oh,
he
she's
wants public health.
I
she's
know,
a
but number
nurse.
2, she's got TGSA.
I don't agree.
But
with
she's
that.
she
She's
is in the
brand new.
healthcare system.
This is-
Okay,
yeah.
She's
all
a
right.
nurse.
She's a nurse.
Okay.
Excuse
We
me,
need
I
people,
misunderstood.
we need
you.
people on public health and safety. That's not gonna help
Yeah.
overall. The idea was to get somebody off of Park and Rec.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we were.
That's why I was looking at the bold people on Parks and Rec. I wasn't picking the person, I was looking at who's bold on Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Yeah.
we're back to
Yeah,
wherever we were.
but and then I would just say that that's, District 3 is only adding 1 person onto that Parks and Rec. District 6 is trying to add 2 people. And so,
And we took her off of Public Works, and as I said, we still have 2 people to join. So we have some play there.
Okay, so in 6, we're going to move,
No, we're not doing anything.
we're not going to do
Just
anything.
wait.
All right. Good on 6? Okay, 4.
Research is still being conducted.
Seth, can we go to the next item and come back?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Can I ask you a procedural question?
Sure.
So when,
so,
Wait,
Wait,
Seth, Andy's got a
we have a
question.
procedural
I'm
question.
sorry, and I know I'm not a member of this committee, but I just, the reason I'm still sitting here, so when will we know, like, when will we be able to start meeting as a committee? Because I've got something on the 11th, and I want to be able to have a committee and email them and meet.
on
Go
Monday, this Monday, we have our meeting where we all meet as a
Right.
group, and then you assign chair, vice chair, and clerk. And then after that, you can meet.
So but I have to wait until next Monday to email everybody.
Correct.
yeah.
No, you can give
Oh,
me
no,
a
you
heads
can
up.
meet with
No,
your
no,
own
no, you
committee.
No, that's
Well, I'm
not
okay
true.
with my old committee.
Yeah, you still,
You
Yeah,
can,
yeah, you
they're
can-
constituted until you put the committees together.
You can
Right.
still meet with your old committee.
Yeah.
You can still communicate with the new people that are on there, because, I'm in the same boat.
Right, right.
We're gonna have to meet
Yep.
between the 27th and the 11th, to discuss what's going
Right.
on. So, tomorrow,
but
who's
you
ever.
give them your schedule Monday. And you'll pick the day.
Yeah, but you can
But
actually
tomorrow-
say, we'll know by tonight who's on your committee.
Yeah.
And just go
And,
with it.
and you can communicate with them immediately.
With
I'm
the
gonna
new
communicate with anybody who's new to F&B the same way as well as the other members, saying, here's what we got going.
Makes
Are they
sense.
allowed to have a meeting or only communicate?
We
Well, we
can
have a
have a
meeting.
meeting.
Pardon me?
Becau- we can have a meeting, and this wasn't just because of the new document, it was Kate Bush who said that all of the committees remain constituted, less people were on the
Yeah.
RTM anymore, until that member's successor is named.
Okay. You guys
So-
built that into that?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about what, we just verbalized what the concept was already there and put it into writing versus that was a new concept. Because in fact, we have been reporting, and Kate said that when we conduct business, as we did on the union contract, one year we all reported, well, this is what the old committee said, and Kate said, no, that committee's still in existence when you did that report. I think it was on a fire issue or something. So yeah.
So after tonight, you'll know who the committee is. You won't be the chairman of the new committee, you'll be still chairman until you're replaced.
On Monday.
Or revoted.
Right.
They voted in, yeah.
Good.
All right, that's good. Good question.
Kind of clear as mud, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
don't know
right.
what committee
It's a little gray.
Exactly, it
I mean, I
doesn't.
can't meet before Monday anyway, it's Thanksgiving week, I wouldn't, but. I
But
just
you
wanna
can
get people
communicate and
started.
let them know, because you don't want to wait till the last minute.
That's what I want.
Right. we
And
have-
if you want
we
to
have
set an agenda
just
for
start to
Monday's
say-
meeting,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do more than elect officials, you probably need.
I
an
don't want,
agenda.
yeah, that's what I
can't.
mean, if I'm gonna have everybody in one room, I'd like to actually see if I can get a meeting.
Yeah, after you elect the
Or create a
officials, you can
special meeting
conduct
to happen
business.
right after that.
So, Mark, I know you like sports scores while we're waiting. 7-7 in the second quarter.
Chiefs.
Quarter?
Chiefs, Eagles, and no Taylor Swift there.
Oh my God.
People tape games. You know, they're videotape them to watch them when they get home.
I didn't tell you the
all right.
conclusion
You said it's 7-7.
in the,
I can
the
jump
game
ahead to the
just
second
started.
quarter.
Snap the agenda.
Started at 8 o'clock.
I can jump ahead to
No, we're in the
quarter.
second quarter.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
What's the over on
How
that?
we doing? Is there any hope on District 4 before I move to the next topic? Any hope on District 4? Not yet, okay. Next, we'll set the calendar for 2023-24. And I got it, I drew it up in draft as best as I could figure it out. Luckily, you had the format, so it's a question of trying to get the numbers right. We don't have the conflict that we had with the two holidays, the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So we could go ahead and schedule those as normal. I think this is right. So unless there's any questions, I'll ask for a motion to set the calendar as I distributed it for 23-24.
Seth, I'm sure you checked that, but so February 12th is not what's President's Day? I'm looking it up right now, but I'm sure you already checked it. Oh, that's wrong, missed it wrong. Maybe it's the 19th, it must be the 19th.
Yeah, but
Okay.
more importantly,
Yeah.
do we know when, can somebody go to
It's the 19th, yes.
Can somebody go to the?
I tried to duck all the bullets that are out
I'm
there,
sure
but there's
that's got,
plenty of them.
I'm sure that's during President's Week.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
It's confirmed.
on the February meeting, the only other thing to make sure of is that we're not meeting during school break.
If
No, but the
President's is the
school
19th.
break
School
is
break
the
is
16th to the
President's
23rd.
week.
Okay, fine. My kids have been out for a while.
So are mine.
No, mine are out.
Mine are out.
I knew your kids, so yeah, we did it at the same time.
Okay,
All right,
Are
I make
we-
a motion to
thank you, Susan. Second?
move it along.
Second.
Okay, ready to vote?
Who was the second?
Michael.
Mike.
All in favor? Okay, opposed? I see none. Abstentions? I see none. Calendar is set. I'll keep moving till you stop me or something. Update on revising Appendix B. There are two pieces to this, Part 6 and then Part 4, Section 3. Jack and I have talked a lot about this. Jack, do you want to talk it through of where we're going with this thing?
Well, that was one of the reasons I was out in the hall with Wayne on, as I said before, Krista did a phenomenal job of realizing that Appendix B, Part 4, Section 3 was based upon snail mail and not how we operate, and it was more restrictive than FOIA. But this is the only place in the code that any town body deals with notice and that. And so we feel that the answer will be, is that Wayne did a nice write-up on FOIA, and we'll include that in the package in the future that's sent to F&B members so that they have the information on FOIA notice, this, that, the other. But I know, Krista, you were in favor of just deleting it.
I suggest striking the whole clause from appendix B.
And I agree with Krista, and Wayne has no problem with striking it. So the motion will be solely to delete that section because it doesn't need to be there since we're already following FOIA.
And Section 6 says that everything that we do in the RTM is subject to FOIA, so.
Right.
it-
The whole
the
town is
statement's
subject to
there.
FOIA anyway, but
Yeah.
yes.
Whole state is.
Yeah, right. So,
Okay.
that's that. On the second part, we'll be having dialogues with all the people who had comments over the next period of time. It may go into January. And then I'm anticipating, part of the reason it got pulled is that when I was reading some of the comments that were coming in, including one at 4 o'clock before we were voting, they were good comments. And they made the document better. And so, rather than what was suggested that we go do this and we fix it later, no, we want the good document. And, you know, comments that we got from Beth, from Jim, from even Susan, and that, the concept had been to put these things in. And so we'll meet with people, we'll discuss, but then when we go back, what we're going to do is really what should be done in a contract, where we'll go with the old munis over here and the new one here and say, this had no change. This one had a minor change, this is the reason why. This was deleted, that's the reason why. This was added, that's the reason why. And we'll meet with the various committees and explain that, so we don't have to go through the whole thing at an RTM meeting, because that'll be there forever. But Seth has requested that all the committees then vote on what they see, and should there be changes coming from any of those meetings, we have to make sure that all the committees in the past, because it was a working document, so there's so many copies, so that it gets back to people saying, we added these 3 words, or this was added, or something like that. So that's the goal going forward. And while January is a nice little target, if it moves to February, so be it. The goal is to have a good document that we can live with for another 30 years until we demolish another incinerator and keep it on the books for 30 years.
So in the end, Jack comes back with a final doc.
Well, Frank and Jack.
Jack and Frank.
We've
Jack and
coined
Frank
a-
come back, yeah, excuse me, Jack, Frank.
We're trying to coin words, but first it was the matrix and now it's scope.
But it may end up in jurisdiction. That was mentioned by
Yeah.
an attorney who had looked at it from F&B, and it was mentioned by Beth.
So in the
Mentioned
process
same
of
thing.
coining words
So-
for this.
So, and quite honestly, I like jurisdiction, and some people didn't, so that's how we came up with scope.
Jurisdiction is better, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. So
We have,
that's one of the changes, but we have to also, the goal of what was the matrix, which, you know, was sent out, and there's one change because we have to get the pickleball court working group to it.
Maybe yes.
So,
Maybe yes, I'm not sure.
all right, I have to. So, but we didn't want to put that into the ordinance because otherwise, every time we make a change, the RTM has to approve it. And I remember one of the first things I did when Joe Warren was running TGSNA in my first year. I was reading the ordinances and all the fees were in our ordinances. And the fees were about 10 years old, which was a wonderful class action suit because the ordinance drives what the fees should have been, not what we were charging people, which was part of the reason why the Rules Committee set up the committee to get all those things out. So we don't want this being the same situation. We want it to be a living document. But the standing committees have a responsibility to keep rules informed. And that document, which was originally called the matrix, is a rules document. This committee owns it. You know, it's not a, we started it just because it makes life easier that when something comes up, you can look in there and you know exactly who should be primary, secondary, and who may have something else in there. So, but that was there, and that will once again be approved by rules, but it's a living document.
So we'll have a final Appendix B, Part 6, that will come before this committee, and then we will put that on the agenda when it's ready, and then
we'll vote.
and then we'll vote the scope, or whatever.
We have, we have fun defining different words. There's a red line document, which would be the comparison from the Muni Code official, what we're working under now,
All right, so
to what is proposed. And there's a blue line document, which will be a comparison of what was out there last week and subject to various comments that we were going to dialogue on. And so we'll do the blue line, which will compare what we had on the table to the new document.
And if you want a copy of it, it'll cost about $5 because we need some extra revenue.
Seth, can I ask one question?
Yes.
So Frank, you had mentioned the other night that maybe you'd have kind of a big, whoever wanted to from the RTM, come and have one meeting versus going to all, I know you need to go to all the subcommittees, but obviously some people are more intrigued by the whole thing than some of the people. So the problem when you go to each subcommittee is you need to make sure there's a quorum and stuff. So does it make sense to have like a quote, quote, open house to get some of the people that really have dug into it, get their answers?
Yeah, I think it would be a two-step process. We want a dialogue with the people who had the concerns.
Yeah.
Both the ones that came in a couple of days before and a couple that came in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we want to meet with everybody.
Yeah.
And then the modifications, the blue line document will be, and the red line document will be available to all the committees, and we would expect to meet with all the committees.
Because Seth wants each of the committees to vote,
Yeah.
we have to go back to the committees.
Right.
Believe me, it's the middle of budget.
Yeah.
It's not the first thing that I have on my list to do during budget, nor
we-
Frank's. Plus, you know, there's gonna be some major, for you guys even, there's some major projects coming into Park and Rec. You know, you're on Park and Rec, there's some major projects that are coming down the line. And there's something called the noise ordinance that are going on. And there's a tax ordinance that Tony needs,
Yeah.
that we just got done talking about a time frame that we want to get to the RTM by February, so it has some contingency in the 60 days and going there.
So Jack brings up a good point, the noise ordinance. So
Yeah.
now we look at our spreadsheet up here for TGSNA. Obviously, the noise ordinance is going to have a huge amount of work in TGSNA,
No,
correct?
actually, it's in
No.
public health and safety,
Oh, okay, sorry.
because that's the criteria. of
Okay, so
what we
public
need
health
to-
and safety has 13 people. Is that, well, I guess new people would go in there. But I guess we have to think about, so brand new people will be going in there, working on the noise ordinance.
There are a lot of old people. There's only like, how many, there's
10
one,
Okay.
there's 2 new people. So
Okay.
it's balanced.
So it goes from you then back to TG, will it go to TGSNA?
Yeah,
Okay.
but the.
They'll do
Point well
the
taken.
language.
Okay,
It's public health and safety and TGSA
Okay.
are working very closely on that. In fact, have probably having joint meetings.
I should,
But the first part is to frame what we're talking about, and that's more of the public health and
Okay.
safety. That makes sense?
perfect.
And on the other tax thing, in reality, you know, Frank will be joining us, but it's really gonna be because of the criteria, it's really gonna be Kate, because we need to have the policy on what happens when nobody's here to make sure that the controls are there. But it'll be Kate, Jen, Tony, myself, and Wayne's office to write it, because for the most part, it's state code. We're almost extracting state code and making it town code.
Okay. So we've got a plan here for Appendix B, and it's organized, sounds like it's good, and the key thing is that we get a broad buy-in, that people identify with it and feel part of it. Now, before I go any further, are there any resolution or movement on District 4?
So from what I've found going through the responses I have in my emails, I could not find Meg Bots, but for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Of the 14 responses I did see, there was one other I did not. Bronco was the only one who followed directions and put the third choice, which was F and B.
Congratulations.
For being a rule follower.
Well,
I put 3.
No, see, I disagree with us challenging someone who follows the rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been on the thing 17 years, you fill out the slots. If you didn't want to be on there, you wouldn't have put it. I don't know, I'm unclear whether or not you got confirmation that he doesn't want to be on it. And, you know, if there's new information that's introduced, great, but my feeling is we should move on, get some balance, fill in the vacant slot to be consistent with, was it,
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I agree.
I agree with Mark as well.
all
I
right,
think
so
you
we're
did
gonna,
it very well. Thank you.
so we're gonna leave 4 as it is?
No, Frank is going to have.
Bronco's gonna move.
Going to have to be-
Okay, Bronco moves, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. Then I think we're at a point here where we can move the committee assignments. I'll take a motion thank you very much, Mr. Atalanta. I have a second, please.
I'll second.
Oh,
I was gonna say.
almost had you, Susan, but he was just flying.
That's okay. Oh,
Frank's
I
wants to
got
second.
Jack, yeah.
No, get Frank.
For the record, I'll second.
Oh, yes, sir. All right, you got it. Further discussion, ready to vote? All those in favor? Great. Opposed? See none. Abstentions? I see none. Motion passes,
Thank you,
and the
Krista.
Thank you.
committees are assigned. Thank you.
It was much better than those paper forms. It was very efficient.
Oh, that was
that was
fabulous.
wonderful.
Oh,
No,
thank
that
you
was huge. That was
guys.
huge.
That was
This
great.
is a beautiful job.
Thank you for the
It
Comparing-
was awesome.
For those of us who worked on cardboard for
We used to have to go
years,
to people's
She brought the
house and
board-
pick
she
it
brought
up
the
and
board
drop
and-
them off to you.
oh,
She brought the board, it's over there.
we should
was
frame
great.
that. And
Oh, the
then-
old fashioned
behind you.
board?
All right.
Yeah.
She was gonna throw it away.
Having said that,
No,
Yes.
it wasn't
If
the balls
everybody
and I
had
had it
print-
brought down.
if
Yes.
everybody had printed out what they got in the email, we wouldn't have had to sit here all this time. We would have known right
Well,
away.
yeah, well, we'll-
Just saying, folks.
Just saying, all right. We'll do, there's a combination here of discussing and assigning. We just have to put the vote on the final Board of Ethics on the agenda,
So moved.
and,
Second?
a second, okay, well, I was
Thanks,
gonna
3
do
hours
these
sleep last
all
night,
and then.
I'm
and
cranky.
then
Let's
set
do
the
them all at
agenda.
once if we can, Mr.
Yes,
Moderator.
yes, sir, I'm headed in that direction.
Thank you, sir.
I have anxious people, but we are gonna do it.
Guilty as charged.
Okay, so that was just on there to get it on the appropriation bonding authorization, that's not ready yet, but we can assign a committee, F&B.
Which of the two is it?
This is the,
Sanitary sewer.
the sanitary sewer,
Okay, so F&B first, Public Works second, because it's an increase in the bond.
because it's money, okay.
Agreed.
That sound right? Can I have a motion to assign F&B primary, Public Works secondary on the appropriation and bonding for the sewer system?
Um,
I have oh, here's a motion for Patty, second on Peter. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Opposed? I see none. Abstentions? I see none. The next is also not ready, but again, we can assign a committee. This is Hanson Road Bridge Replacement, Public Works Primary, F&B.
No.
No?
F&B, because again,
You
it
did?
is.
You change your mind, Jack.
No, it's the other thing. This is primary because it's a new bond, but it has a grant that comes back, so it's a new appropriation for that. So F&B is primary on the finances. Public Works secondary
Yeah.
and public health and safety secondary.
You wanna put
because
in the
it went to
HMS in there
police
too, or?
commission Because Patty's not gonna be able to get out of her road.
No, I'm actually now, the way that falls, it
Yeah,
amazingly falls, it will not, the neighbors will be able to go to the right
Right
or
or to
the
the
left.
left,
It was like
right.
the one perfect place. And
absolutely.
because cars fly down Hanson Road, I've realized this is gonna be a little cul-de-sac. I've never lived on a cul-de-sac.
So why is it public health and safety?
No, it's public health and safety because it went to the police commission because the road is anticipated to be closed
For 5 months.
5 months. And the interesting thing is, for those that want to fly down the road, you know that joke where they see a car go into a hole?
Not a good idea.
There's gonna be no road there.
Yeah, it was a.
It's not a
Hey,
good
there.
idea now either.
So all the
Mayanus
folks-
Bridge revisited, never
Oh,
mind.
that's what I was
thinking of.
I was over
Okay.
that bridge 3 hours before it went down.
Yeah, all right, so I'll take a motion, make F&B primary, public works and public health and safety secondary. Have a motion on blood, please, to sign that? Yes, thank you. Adele, second, please. Susan, great. Ready to vote? All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, opposed, I see none, approved, I don't see any abstentions. Again, this is not ready yet for the agenda, but we have the committees assigned. And we've already done the property rights on Great Island.
Wait, can I make sure that we're acquiring property, it's not, there were two ways that, there was
Right.
some discussion of two ways of looking at it, and it was on the Board of Selectmen's agenda incorrectly. So let's make sure that it's for the acquisition of the
No,
property,
we
not
will,
just for whatever it was.
I asked if this resolution, which I got,
Okay,
What is
is
the
correct,
heading
and it
again?
says resolution of the representative town meeting to consider and approve the purchase of the terminating cul-de-sac of Great Island Road.
that's fine,
Right.
that wasn't what you had said earlier, but as long as
Right.
that's what we're doing,
Yep,
that's
I
good.
agree.
That's-
Were you guys comfortable with Wayne's response, though?
Wayne said that was correct.
Wayne said, I believe so.
Oh, no.
The fact is.
Just saying.
The issue was.
Well, I got this from them yesterday,
Okay,
or
I'm-
day before.
The issue was, is that if you looked at the original Board of Selectmen and the agenda item on the Board of Finance, it said
Acquisition
for
of rights.
acquiring property rights. In legal terms, property rights would have meant easements.
That's right. It's
Yes,
versus
that's
property.
correct.
Different thing.
But this was actually purchase of property without payment for modifying the 3 easements that are there.
So just make sure in your document,
Oh, absolutely.
So that's
calendar,
why
you
we
got it
wanna
right.
make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that it's
for the
properly done.
agenda.
You know, when I put out the draft warning, I'm sending it to town council first before I publish it. But
Yeah,
this is,
but somebody approved this lesson.
so, yeah, well, it's true, I
Yeah,
did
he
get
did the
different
seconds,
answers
too.
depending upon what day it was, but that's all right. All right,
I'm sorry, still on this topic, can we clarify the method by which other members of the RTM are going to know, not know, request, not request further information?
Well, first, yeah, you
I
probably
mean,
should send out,
I think I'm gonna have to send out, can I use the Survey Monkey?
No, we don't have that anymore.
Oh,
people have to, look,
that would,
you can say you can request this contract, but with it comes
Yeah.
certain responsibilities.
so I'll put out a memo to
Because-
that effect,
because-
yeah.
People who have not dealt with contracts sometimes don't truly understand what an NDA is, and that the financial burden that can put on the town if they violate.
We all did,
And
we all, to due respect, that we all did Great Island, so I think
Yeah.
I think we all ought to see the contract.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I'm correct, through the watermark
Thank you, 'cause
system,
that's where I'm coming
Yeah.
from.
the dissemination of that document is completely trackable.
Yeah, that's
So-
the key.
Yeah.
All right,
People
so
want- So we
we're
tell
not
them
gonna vote here, we're gonna send it to everybody and,
I think that's best.
Yeah.
Assuming that there is accountability for dissemination.
yeah, oh, yeah, no, it's electronic,
Okay,
it's an email.
yes.
So you're gonna tell Wayne, he's gonna send that out
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the 3 documents that
Right,
JC mentioned, okay?
One
So
email,
we'll-
everything attached.
One email, 3
one
attachments.
email, 3 pieces.
But we have to, if you notice, I'm gonna have to just tell Wayne that we're gonna need.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
That's fine.
Planning, zoning, and housing, and F&B need to be, have primary, because we have to act on it
Right,
right away.
right,
It's all
so we gotta get that out now.
No, it can't.
Wait, hold on, excuse me, like,
I don't know how much time it's gonna do to take the watermark for 100 people. What I do know is that after Monday,
Those two committees.
have to deal with, read it, have a chance to read it, and then meet on it. So,
So that's a good point. You just have those first two committees get the information and then send it, the rest of it out prior to the December 11th
Right.
meeting.
then who is communicating this to Wayne?
Me,
Okay, good. So I just want to make sure what am I, so I am not a part of this process. Wayne is starting, I mean, I started talking to them this morning. They're ready to go tomorrow.
Is it a big
Oh.
deal to do all 100?
That's Wayne's office. I have nothing to do with that item.
I don't want it to
Should
be
we ask them
become a
how
big
much it's
deal
gonna
and we
cost
don't
us?
have people.
they have it on it, it's on a computer program.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
You just take the list and,
yeah.
I think you should just start banging them out tomorrow, but.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's
can
your-
we bang out to
I will-
the people
Well,
on those two
Chris, I was gonna
committees
say, it
first?
makes it a lot easier for you if it's like everyone, because otherwise you're having to wait for everyone to respond.
No,
in and
I
out.
have nothing to do with this
Yes.
process. This
Oh,
is
it's all
going
done.
directly from Curtis Brinkerhoff to these specific members.
Okay.
It's just, how is this getting communicated to Wayne? Seth's got this. I have nothing to do with it.
I will copy you there.
No, you don't even need to copy me. Got
It's
it.
out.
Okay, good. Where was I here? Yes, so, let's set the agenda for the State of the Town meeting. I sent out a draft. The only thing I have on there that I would delete is update on Great Island, since, you know, that's number 4 there on the list. So acceptance of the agenda, the minutes, vote on the acquisition of additional property rights, vote on the, and I'll make
Yep,
sure,
there we
by the
go.
way,
Yeah,
That's it, that's the word.
it. Vote on the
Acquisition of the property.
of
Great.
property.
Yes,
Yeah.
property, period.
No rights.
No rights.
no rights.
We need a new resolution.
Property regarding Great
That's not
Island.
the resolution.
There we
that's-
are,
No,
that's
that
just
was
the
on the agenda.
label, folks. Vote on the final Board of Ethics, and then State of the Town, First Selectman, Planning and Zoning, Board of Ed, and Board of Finance. Okay? Motion from Frank.
Just as the Congress invites the president to give the State of the Union, you are inviting these folks to address us.
Right.
Could it possibly, this year, include the suggestion that they have a written transcript that can be distributed to us, and that they summarize their transcript in a 5 to 8 minute presentation? Because what they do is they read the text that they've been slaving over for a couple of weeks to get ready for this event, and they read it to us. So we could actually have a copy of that. And they're certainly free to make some remarks that emphasize the important points. So in our invitation to them, perhaps we could do that this year. It's been suggested over the years as well.
I don't think Jay-Z reads. He knows.
No,
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
yeah.
It's not just,
It might be kind of rude.
they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
the
town
fact
meetings.
is that the
We all wanna
state of the town is not solely for the RTM. The state of the town gives the other 4 boards an opportunity to explain not only their accomplishments in the last year, but also what they're looking to do in the next year and going forward. And it's somewhat appropriate since budgets are going to be happening anyway. But people turn in not because they want to listen to us, but because they want to listen to what the heads of the
I
4
think they might
families
be
have to
appreciative
say.
of the highlights to have it
I think that they-
End of comment.
Yeah, I think that they should be given their opportunity.
Okay, Krista?
Just sort of picking up on the points that are being made. As invited guests, did you want to give them the opportunity to go first?
No.
No.
Okay,
No, we've been through that.
Okay.
I hate to say, after we've been doing this a while, we went back and forth. It used to go early, but
Well, they're
the
gonna stay,
feeling
the ideas
was,
are gonna
no,
stay
we
for
do
the
the
Great
business
Island vote
first and-
anyway.
And,
So,
and sometimes people
Okay.
leave so we don't have a quorum,
Yes.
yeah.
because
And
those
then
are
there's
not
that.
5-minute talks.
Can we do
Okay.
any kind of time estimate as to when, I'm just thinking, like, I think, I could be wrong, but I think some of the administration of the Board of Ed usually comes to this and sits
Yes.
in the back.
They usually do.
So here we're asking, and some town hall employees may come, so I get what someone just said. So instead of them coming at 8, because we do have agenda, maybe
Right.
we suggest, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but you can say approximate time that the 4 boards will start speaking as an idea, so. No?
Yeah, we don't have, I mean, the only,
You can guarantee that you're
Thing
gonna
with-
be wrong. That's the
Yeah,
only
you're
thing.
right.
that's
the
just a
only thing, I
horror.
mean, it's a
No,
great thought.
let them come and they'll learn more about Great Island at the same time. What about that?
Seth, do you
Okay.
guide them as to how long the presentation should be? I know some of them vary in the
No, we
tenor.
have not, it's considered the once a year state of the
Yeah, just
town.
go, just roll.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't listen to them often, so.
Well, one of the things that we had done, which is part of this, is that, in speaking, it was during the time of Jamie, we said to Jamie and to the Board of Ed that when the budget comes to the RTM, we're really getting it from the Board of Finance. It's now the Board of Finance. So in the past, they used to give a preamble on their budget, but they'd already given the preamble when it was discussed. They'd already given it for the Board of Finance at that time. And it was now our turn to talk about the budget. And so they graciously stepped aside on that. And it was, Jamie did that, and I forget who was chair at the time. At Education, they did the same. So this is their one time to really talk. And so, you know, you gotta give them their 5 minutes of fame.
I would take 5.
Can I have a motion to set the agenda, please?
So moved.
Okay, it went very frank and Peter. Second, those in favor, please?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? I see none. Mike? I see no abstentions either. Carries unanimously. Other business?
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
the Board of Ethics vote?
Yes,
So we have to get a majority to be elected?
right.
Do we have that's what you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah, I will make sure.
Well, is there any, if there's not a majority on the first vote, is there a backup plan?
January.
This time, we're gonna, well,
Right.
it's up to you all as to what how you'd like to proceed, but it's a fair question. Do you wanna stay until we have count the votes and then we'll keep going?
I don't think we have to, no?
Because you have that in the middle of the
Yeah.
agenda?
I just was wondering if the process moving forward, and if still nobody has a majority, do
Go to the
we
highest
have a
bidder.
rule? Can you drop the the lowest vote getter's name?
Do we,
Or do
are
you
they
just
also
keep doing it
getting
over
2
and
more
over?
minutes to talk, Seth? I don't know, I'm asking.
Of which?
Well, they all had an opportunity to present.
Right.
All right, 2 of those presenters are now on. So you have, I believe, 4 people
Correct.
Yeah.
on that. So do these 4 people have a second opportunity to present? Just so people know who they are.
I would think, yeah,
Okay.
because now the voting has changed, because people
Right,
that you
because
voted
2
for
people-
before are not there
Right.
anymore, so you have to make up your mind again.
And are we checking in to make sure that those 4 people actually still want to proceed?
I have no reason to believe they don't, I haven't heard from them.
Okay.
And so we only vote for 1?
Right.
Okay.
And you should advise.
There are 4 people
that
vying
made
for 1
aware.
spot.
Right,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
correct.
They were on that night, we told.
But we need to figure out if you don't have a majority. I mean, what happens when we don't?
So the fourth one doesn't drop out and goes down to 3 and then goes to 2, it's always 4 until one person gets 50%?
I think that's a question for Wayne.
Yeah.
No, if
Yes.
there's, so there'll be 4 candidates, 1 vote of how many people show up. I would imagine, just given the math, that 1 person will, but
get a
maybe not.
majority.
Or you rewrite your appendix,
No,
That was my
that's not gonna
thought.
help us.
that's what I would do.
I think that, I think with 4 people, and assuming that we have, I'm gonna choose a nice number, say 90, which would make 46 the majority. I believe that you're gonna may get 2 people who have higher votes and 2 people with less.
Yes.
But I think it's gonna be very difficult for one person, unless they shine in their 2 minutes,
Yeah.
to have the
I think it'd be
majority.
nearly impossible.
Yeah, so I think it's worthwhile to ask Wayne what we do. Since
What are our
he-
options?
Yeah, what are
Could we
the
put a
options?
rule in, could create a rule that says
Drop 1.
the top 2 or the whatever?
I guess for the purposes of the meeting, you probably could put in a special rule. I
Well,
don't know, I
why
gotta
don't-
talk,
why don't we
I'll
ask
ask, I'll find
Yeah,
out.
why don't we speak to Wayne as opposed
That would
to.
be, that would be a logical rule.
Why don't we
Consummate
pass
legislator.
such a resolution tonight, and if Wayne says it's invalid, it's invalid. But then we will have something to go forward.
Why don't we wait for Wayne to apply,
Right.
rely on the moderator to
Yeah,
explain
but
it
then we
to
don't
us,
have, then we don't have an action.
and then we can actually adjourn this meeting.
Yes.
Well, this is something you wanted to put into appendix
Because you
B.
see, you have to get by other business first. Is there any other business?
No, that was a good question.
No, I don't hear any. I am at the point where I could ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Patty, and Peter backing it up with a second. All those in favor, please rise.
Aye, aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, everybody.